Happy fall, everybody. I am Paul Chartier. You're watching Heart of Gold. Good friend of mine, Mark Berger from Special Olympics. How are you, Mark?
I'm good, Paul. Thanks for having us.
Special Olympics, I mean, what a marvelous organization, pulls on your heartstrings, and to give all children the opportunity to do something that we take for granted. Congratulations to you. And was it one of the Kennedys that invented Special Olympics?
It was. In fact, it was 48 years ago last month that Eunice Kennedy Shriver started the first Special Olympics at Soldier Field in Chicago, July 20th of 1968. And so we've been going since then. And what we do at our core, we're still a sports program. That's where we started. That first event, that first international games in Chicago, we did track and field and swimming. 100-meter dashes, and I think it was a 25-meter swim was the farthest. And we were our athletes' biggest cheerleaders at the time. We were in 1968. We were their only cheerleaders practically, and that was all the farther we thought they could go. So that's what we did. At the last World Games in Los Angeles a year ago, we had athletes running the marathon. We had athletes, swimming 200 meters. We had athletes competing in, I think it was 18 sports. So as time has gone on, even we at Special Olympics have been amazed by what our athletes can accomplish when doors are open to them. So, at our heart, we're still a sports organization. We still produce all the things that sports produce. I'm a sports guy. I grew up playing sports. My kids have played sports. And we all get something out of that, right? We feel better about ourselves. We gain confidence. We learn how to succeed. We learn how to work with a coach to get better. And those are all skills that transfer, skills that you don't necessarily think about as you're competing in your sporting event, but you learn how to work with your coach to get better. So you've learned how to work with your boss to get better. You've gained confidence. You can accomplish things. So you can accomplish things in school. And we see all those things transfer over. So at our heart, we're a sports program, and that's the biggest service we still provide. But what we really do is change the lives of children and adults now with intellectual disabilities. Our program throughout Kentucky, but now Special Olympics Incorporated, Special Olympics International, we're up to, I think it's 4 million athletes worldwide.
Oh my gosh. So you started with track and field and swimming back in '68. When Chicago was a hotbed of politics back then.
That's right.
Now, all these years later, how many sports can people compete in?
In Kentucky, we're at 15. And we hit all the high notes, right? Basketball, obviously huge here. Our softball season is just about to finish up. We'll have our state softball tournament next month. We had 60 teams across the state participate in softball. Track and field is still our biggest individual sport. Bowling is enormous.
Really?
It's our biggest winter sport. And then we also do some things that people might not expect. In Kentucky, they might expect it, but equestrian is a competition we have coming up soon. And we also have probably the most advanced gymnastics program in the country for Special Olympics athletes. We had Mary Farrenbaugh lives here in Lexington, and she came to us from, I think it was Virginia, and she had been a Special Olympics coach there for a long time. It's like, I want to do that here.
Can you believe it?
And so we have some of the most accomplished Special Olympics gymnasts really in the world. Every World Games since I've been involved with the program, we've sent gymnasts to the World Games, and they've been incredibly successful under her guidance.
And you've been with Special Olympics how many years?
It's 15 years now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How has it changed from when you joined to where it is right now?
The biggest change is the way that we serve our athletes. I mentioned that our core, we're still a sports program, and that's what we were primarily. That's almost what we were exclusively when I started. Other things we do now that we added what we call the Young Athletes program. For so long, our athletes, our competitors started at 8 years old. In fact, at that first games, it was 10 years old. So Roger Capisser, who's an athlete with our program in Louisville, he went up there, but he was only, I think, 9. So he got to be a part of it. We've got this great picture of him with John Glenn. But he didn't get to compete there. So we started at 8 years old. So a family would call us with a child with an intellectual disability and say, hey, Special Olympics, what do you got? And we'd be like, call us in 5 years, which is really odd, right? So we started what we call the Young Athletes program, and it does, it serves children 2 to 7 years old. It teaches them motor skills and sort of works in preparation for our sporting events so that when they turn 8, they're ready to compete. So that was the first thing that we added. We had what we call our Healthy Athletes program. And what that does is it provides health services for our athletes. Here in Kentucky, we do vision screenings, dental screenings. foot screens, a couple other things. And this year we'll have 3 events that we do those at. One was our summer games back in June, and then we'll have 2 MedFest events coming up in the next couple of months where we provide a free sports physical for our athletes. This year's will be in Louisville. Last year's was here in Lexington. Next year's will be in Lexington again. Then we'll have one in Northern Kentucky. And what we found is that one of the big barriers to participation in our program has been the ability to get medical treatment for our athletes. You have to have a physical for us, just like you have to for Little League. I mean, that's just a safety thing for our athletes as much as anything else. And over that time, since Healthy Athletes was started in the early 90s internationally, Special Olympics has become the biggest provider of health services in the world for people with intellectual disabilities. And nobody knows that. That's one of the things nobody knows about our program. And our most recent addition was what we call Unified Champion Schools. It started out as Project Unify, and what it is a community building program for school children. Bullying is a huge problem, right? And we see that all the time in our schools. Our athletes, our population is about 80% more likely to be bullied in school. But what we found is, as with anything else, if you can foster a little bit of understanding between different groups, you can put an end to that, almost complete end to that. So Unified Champion Schools goes into school systems, works on ways that our athletes and their peers who don't have disabilities can better understand each other, work together through sports, through clubs and other activities, and the results of that are incredible. So that's what we are. Again, a sports program at our core, but right now we serve sort of the entire person of our athletes, and we work with them and their parents at really every stage of their lives.
The athletes that come into the Olympics, by competing, their self-esteem, they get to do things that they normally can't do, which is fantastic to give them that outlet. What do you see a change in them from when they start to after they compete in the Olympics? What do you see it change?
The change is really phenomenal. I mean, we've seen athletes that have gone from, there's a young man named Colin from down in Nicholasville, and he's an athlete that I met first when he was named to our USA Games team in 2008. And he was really, we have a training camp, so we get everybody together so that we know them better and they know the process better. He didn't talk to anybody throughout that entire training camp. He kept to himself, really quiet, barely said anything. And so it's a year process from training camp to USA Games. And by USA Games, he'd had a couple of swims. He'd done really well. He's a phenomenal swimmer. He started to come out of his shell a little bit. And he was telling us about all the things he loved to do. He loves dinosaurs. He loved a whole bunch of other stuff. And then the next year he was named to Special Olympics USA's team for the World Games in Athens, Greece that next year. And it was something that his mother never thought he'd be capable of. He went and had an unbelievable experience. And I honestly, I didn't recognize the young man that got off the plane after the World Games as compared to the guy that we met at the USA Games training camp. And that's one of thousands of experiences like that we see every day in our program, and it's really phenomenal.
So here are these people that they are whole people thinking they're better than Special Olympians, bullying them. But look who is competing in the Olympics, and look who went to Athens, Greece.
Exactly. And the thing is, I don't even know that it's that they think they're better. I just think they don't understand. And I think that's the biggest thing that we try and deal with Special Olympics is helping people understand where our athletes are coming from and what they're capable of. Because I think that our athletes come to us with an intellectual disability. A lot of our athletes have physical disabilities, but but you have to have an intellectual disability to qualify. So people don't understand that. You can see all the physical disabilities, right? If different issues, but you can't necessarily see what our athletes and with the rise in autism, autism spectrum disorder, a lot of our athletes have autism. And that's something you never see. But once you get to spend a little time with them and once you bring their capabilities out of them, it's much easier to understand how they relate to you and how you're similar. And I think that's the biggest thing that we've tried to do over the last 48 years, I think we're 46 years in Kentucky now, is help the population understand how similar they are to our athletes as opposed to different. And once you get to that point, you can do pretty much anything.
Before we talk about your truck pull, if you'd like to give your website, so if anybody wants to read up on the great things that you're doing, they can go to the website.
It's SOKY.org, so SpecialOlympicsKentucky.org, SOKY.org. And they can call our office, 502-695-8222, and get information on volunteering. We have thousands of volunteers a year. in our different fundraising events and our different competitive events, or if they've got an athlete that might qualify.
Well, in the next few minutes, please talk about some big event you've got coming up, Mark.
It's called the Big Brown Truck Pull, and we have it every year, and it is exactly what we say it's going to be, and we will tie a rope to the front of a UPS 18-wheeler that's loaded with greeting cards every year. It's about 80,000 pounds, and teams of 15 will take turns trying to see how quickly they can pull the truck 12 feet, and the fastest team wins. And we do men's, women's, and co-ed divisions. It's teams of 15. It's $1,000 per team to participate. All that money goes to Special Olympics and stays here in town. It's at the Texas Roadhouse over in Beaumont Center. And that whole night is a big thing. It's going to be August 27th. That whole night is a big deal for us because the folks at Texas Roadhouse, big supporters of ours, they put up a big festival in their parking lot, and it's a great event to be a part of. And again, you can get more information on that on the website as well, soky.org. And we do our fundraisers a little differently. This and our Polar Plunge in February are unique sorts of fundraisers, and that's we like to have fun and raise money at the same time.
How'd you get connected with Bruce Stebbins? And how many years have you been doing the truck pull?
We've been doing the truck pull, I think this is 7 years now, might be 6. We did a plane pull before. Bruce hosts our Polar Plunge over at his place on Richmond Road. And Texas Roadhouse has been a supporter of Special Olympics for 17 years now, and we needed a place to hold the plunge, and somebody said, why don't you go talk to him? And we did. He thought it was a great idea, and that event would be nowhere close to as successful as it is without his help and without the help of Texas Roadhouse. And the truck pull wouldn't be the success it is without the folks over there in Beaumont.
He and his wife are top shelf folks.
Wonderful folks.
Yes. In the next 3 minutes, some of the barriers that you want to share with people about getting people connected to Special Olympics as either a sponsor or children that would like to show off in the Olympics.
For sponsors, all you got to do is contact our office. We've got a bunch of different opportunities to give, either as an individual donor. Most of our donors, we don't get state or federal funding. All our money comes in through events like the Big Brown Truck Pull or the Polar Plunge, or through sponsorship of those events. So people can call our office and talk to either myself or Taylor Ballinger, is our special events person's name here in town, and sort of work on ways that they can support our athletes financially. If you've got a child or an adult even that has an intellectual disability that you think could benefit from our program, it's really the same process, except you talk to Kim Satterwhite, is our field services director there. And the biggest issue is, again, going back to the medical stuff, is getting a physical. That's the biggest sort of hurdle to getting into the program. But once you have the physical and your doctor signs off, we have a tremendous program, honestly, throughout Central Kentucky. So anybody who's seeing this, whether they're in Clark County or Scott County or Franklin County, throughout Versailles, and obviously in Fayette County, we have a huge program. Madison County does tremendous work. So there's a place for their athlete here in Central Kentucky, and we'll help them find that. And from there, it's just a matter of what you want to do. Again, I mentioned we've got 15 sports. There's pretty much something that everybody's capable of. And again, the neatest thing about our sports is that you don't have to be great. You can be. We have a level of participation for everybody, and we divide it. We what we call division people by ability level primarily. So you're always competing against people that have the same sort of ability level as you. So you've always got a shot to win.
In the closing minute, if you'd like to give the website again, and for people on Sunday mornings, the sermon brought to you by Mark Berger on LAP.
WLAP.
6:30.
6:30.
You do a great job.
I appreciate that. It's www.soky.org. You can call us at 502-695-8222.
Mark, thank you so much.
Paul, thank you so much for the time.
You guys do a great job as an outlet for these kids and people. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.
I'm Paul Chartier. We'll be right back on Heart of Gold.